I just thought my grandpa made it up, but apparently it's a real law. Abraham Maslow wrote this, and it says this. It says, it's tempting if the only tool you have is a hammer to treat everything as if it's a nail. My grandpa just said, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. That's what he said, right? But this is actually the law of, it's a law by Maslow, and it's in there, and it's the law of the instrument. And it says, hey, when these guys have been at war and at war and at war, and they see an altar built in another place that's not an altar sanctioned by God, they're a hammer, and that's a nail. And they're going over there to put an end to it, right? And when they approach them and do this, they actually come back and say that they tell them, hey, that's not what we're doing. We built it as a monument, right, between us and you. We wanted it to be something to honor God. And so they tell them that they built it for two reasons. Because they didn't want their contribution to the promised land to be forgotten. They wanted the people to know that those on the other side of the Jordan assisted, walked with them, and are still praying and part of their thing. They wanted the people to see it from the other side of the Jordan and recognize that those are the people of God on the other side. And they did it for a second reason, was that they wanted the future generations of their children and their grandchildren to see it and realize that they were connected to the altar on the other side of the Jordan. They said, we have no desire to sacrifice anything on it. We're never going to burn anything. We'll do all our sacrifices at Shiloh. That's not what this is about. And they were like, oh, okay. That makes total sense, right? Like they were like geared up, and then it was like, oh, all right, you're good. And so they actually named the altar. The Bible that wraps up this chapter and says they named the altar, and it's called a witness between us that the Lord is God, right? It's a witness between us that the Lord is God. Now, how many of you know that misunderstandings can happen even among church people, right? You ever have a misunderstanding among church people? I have them all the time. It's really awesome. You should try speaking to church people every week. You'll get some, right? There's a misunderstanding among church people, and when they do that, there's a point. We need to take a delegation. We need to have a conversation, and we need to get through it, right? Because we're one people, right? It's a witness between us and God, and we need to make sure that we are on those sides. But we need to recognize that there is a barrier between those who decided, those who are on the east side of the Jordan and those who are on the west side of the Jordan, right? There's a natural barrier between them. We can acknowledge it and recognize it and uplift it, but on the other side, we need to honor both sides of that thing because we're all one people. So just because you get to advance into a new place of the promised land, or maybe your portion of land is larger or whatever, doesn't mean that we're any more going to heaven than the other people are on the other side. We are one family praying and supporting each other. There's an altar that says it's a witness between us, right? And we will do that, to do that. So the trick is about this, that even though there's a misunderstanding, neither side needs to be defeated. Just remember it.